Hello, it's Friday the 16th of December. I'm Phil Bartram. Welcome to issue 48 of Travis Smith's Sustainability Insights. This week we're looking at greenwashing and the regulation of fund names in the European Union. The EU may have blazed the trail in sustainability regulation, but European policymakers and regulators show no signs of relenting in their mission to stamp out greenwashing. In financial markets, there's a continuing concern that investors are being misled by firms which overstate the green credentials of their investment products. While regulatory scrutiny and enforcement action are likely to increase, the European Commission has also acknowledged that a lack of clarity in the EU Sustainable Finance Disclosure Regime, SFDR, a disclosure regime that's being used by many investors as a proxy for a labelling regime, itself creates opportunities for greenwashing, they say. In a recent speech, the Financial Services Commissioner confirmed that a consultation on the operation of the SFDR will be launched next year, only a few months after the detailed implementing rules become effective. That consultation will follow hard on the heels of, and will no doubt be informed by, a call for evidence on greenwashing that was launched in November by European supervisors. Industry responses to those requests for input will be vital, and it's particularly important that those running private funds make their voices heard. In the meantime, Commissioner McGuinness has also repeated a pledge to publish questions and answers on the SFDR to clarify how some of its most fundamental concepts should be understood. These are promised early next year, approximately 2 years after the legislation first became effective. They follow clarifications on the SFDR secondary legislation, rules that are effective from January, published by the 3 pan-EU supervisors last month, November. Even if those clarifications bring some relief to the market, this legislation by executive guidance is hardly ideal. But it is an approach that is evident in a consultation on fund names, also focused on greenwashing, and also launched in November, a busy month for anyone trying to keep up with European sustainability rules. In summary, the consultation published by ESMA, the Paris-based European Securities and Markets Authority, seeks comments on draft guidelines on the use of environmental, social, or governance, or sustainability-related terms in fund names. The effect is that the use of such terms has an ongoing impact on portfolio composition and the fund's investable universe. Whether ESMA has the power to issue such guidelines in the absence of primary legislation concerning fund names is a matter for debate. ESMA justifies its intervention as elaborating on an EU asset manager's legal obligations to act honestly and fairly, and to ensure that marketing communications are fair, clear, and not misleading. The guidelines would build on previous principles-based guidance on fund names issued in May 2022, but it's clear that ESMA's power to issue guidance doesn't give it the right to create new legal obligations for firms. These proposed guidelines, which will apply to national regulators on a comply or explain basis, would in effect create new rules which would bind regulated EU firms. That important constitutional concern might be less worrisome if the guidelines were less far-reaching and more clearly articulated. Unlike the UK's recent similar proposals, which we discussed in a previous edition of Insights, the ESMA guidelines wouldn't be confined to funds targeted at the retail market. They would also apply to institutional-only funds. There's no grandfathering for funds launched before the guidelines become effective, expected mid to late 2023. And funds whose name breaches the guidance would have 6 months to change their name or to change their investment strategy. For many funds, particularly closed-ended ones, that's easier said than done, and market participants will no doubt ask for some carve-outs in their consultation responses. But as well as being far-reaching, the guidelines are also vague, which would add to uncertainty in the market. The rules would apply to investment products with ESG-related or impact-related terms, or the word sustainable, or a derivative of that word, in their name. But there's no definition or exhaustive list of such terms. That leaves market participants wondering which words will bring them into scope and which will not. For example, are renewable energy, forestry, wildlife, and water ESG-related terms? There are undoubtedly many words that could be construed, at least by some, as having a connection with ESG or sustainability. Incidentally, the UK proposals are a little more helpful, although they too include a catch-all provision alongside a list of prescribed terms, namely any other term which implies sustainability characteristics. Also noteworthy is that the UK FCA's proposals extend to the use of relevant terms in marketing materials, while ESMA's draft guidelines do not yet go beyond regulation of the name of the fund itself. The ESMA guidelines would impose minimum quantitative thresholds on funds that use ESG-related terms in their name, with stricter thresholds for those including the word sustainable or its derivatives. However, the thresholds adopt concepts from the SFDR, which themselves remain very unclear. Managers of blind pool closed-ended private funds will be wondering at which point they need to comply with the quantitative thresholds, for example, during the investment or wind-down phase of the funds, and how compliance should be calculated, given that asset values vary and investments are often highly illiquid. This could be a major issue for private equity and similar fund managers. There's also a recommendation that all funds which have an ESG or sustainability-related term in their name include a long list of exclusions from their investable universe, including those that significantly harm an environmental objective. In addition to these rules, funds using the term impact or related words in their name must also ensure that investments are made with the intention to generate positive, measurable social or environmental impact alongside a financial return. Although still a consultation draft, asset managers launching products in the coming year should take careful note of these proposals and those in the UK, and they may want to give comments to ESMA and to the FCA before their respective early 2023 consultation deadlines. And while the guidelines would currently only apply to products marketed by EU-regulated asset managers, non-EU firms will be concerned that, in time, similar rules or standards will be applied to their products when marketed to EU investors. Thank you for listening. If you'd like more information on this topic, please check out our website, where you can also sign up to receive future editions of these insights, or drop me an email, phil.bartram@traverssmith.com.